Hey guys, what's up? This is the introduction for the Secret Top 10, Episode 10. Last time I said it was episode 10, I made a mistake. I'm not perfect, as you all know. So this guest this week is Jessie Seitz. She is a special effects artist and filmmaker. She was one half behind the Beyond Horror, the history of Red films, which was a documentary I had a small little kind of interview with and everything like that. So that's where I met her. She's married to Marcus Cook. Ooh, I've known Marcus forever, so it was inevitable that we would both meet. I was super happy to have her on as a guest. She has a great list. Like, if you were to boil it down, like who has the best movies, because there's all, like, I don't want to spoil it, but there's some truly great movies on here. The tournament is nonsense. So anyways, it was really fun talking to her. She's got a different point of view and just interesting voice. And I know she's done a couple interviews before if you want to search them out and everything. But anyways, I was super happy to have her on, and maybe she'll come back for the next season. Anyways, this is episode 10 of the Secret Top 10. Jessie Seitz, great stuff. All right, I'm here with Jessie Seitz. She's a director, a writer, a special effects artist. You do a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah. Jackie of all trades.
Yeah, and she directed Beyond Horror with Marcus, the documentary about red films, and I know you have a couple films of your own. Devotion is one that I've been meaning to check that out. I never did get a chance to see it though.
Yeah, my feature-length film, my first one was Devotion. I also directed a short film called Obsidian that had definitely made its rounds in like the year that it was created. It played like at a few festivals and a few theaters. And I am currently directing an American Guinea Pig film called ChumBucket.
Awesome. I love the name.
Thank you.
Is it going to be one of the gross out ones?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like one of the wild ones with crazy special effects and everything.
That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. We've got some pretty like crazy scenarios, and it's like low key like a shark horror film too. So I thought
Nice.
that'd be a fun entry into that series.
Okay, so this is a secret top 10. If anybody doesn't know the rules, I'll run them down real quick. Essentially, Jessie's gonna give me a subject or whatever she wants to do. I'll have 2 minutes to guess her top 10 in that subject, and then we'll go over her list. Then we'll go over my guesses, and then we'll do a crazy little tournament. She can talk about his movies as much as she like. I might chime in if I've seen them, if I can, and we'll do it that way. Sound good?
That sounds awesome.
All right, let me get this ready. There we go. Now, let me know when you're ready. I don't know how much it's going to take to explain it. So,
All right. So my list is for the top 10 dead children movies.
dead children.
Mm-hmm.
So, zombie kids or like killer kids or dead kids or kids getting killed.
Dead kids.
So, they're like dead kids that kill.
The main focus of the movie is a child who has died abruptly.
And they can come back if not, or yes or no.
They can some of them come back. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So,
make little appearances.
I'm good to go. All right.
All right.
I know I got three right off the top of my head.
They're so creepy, like dead children. Like to me, that's like such a like weird like
Oh, yeah.
subject matter. It goes a lot of places.
Ugh. Yeah, it can be a great start to a movie. It can just be a terrifying thing. It can be a zombie thing. I got four right off the top of my head. Dead kids. Okay. I'm thinking of all the scenes I've seen in movies where there's a dead kid and it's just really fucked up.
It's been a trope for like a long time too, that like serves as like a good catalyst for like the main characters.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I know that one's got to be one of them. Dead kids, dead kids. There we go. I got 7, and I'm happy with the 7. That one probably not in there, but fuck it. Dead kids, dead kids. Ooh.
I'm so excited to see your list.
Ooh. Oh, fuck. I only got 25 seconds left. Some of these are bad. I'm just thinking of scenes where kids get killed now. I'm writing that one. Oh, fuck it. I'm done. It's over. There we go. I only wrote half of that last one, but it'll count. I know what it means. You don't see how bad my handwriting is. This is one of the other lists. Here's just a note. A note when I was writing for Anthropophagus years ago. Look how poor my writing is. Everybody that sees it is just like, you sure you don't want to cut out clippings in the newspaper to sign your name? All right, I'm excited. That's a great subject too.
All right.
So 10 and up, you can start really if you want to start at 1, but usually we start 10 and then go up. You do your whole list.
And go from there. All right. So, mine's like a little bit like it might be a little bit controversial to some people because I definitely have some more mainstream like horror stuff.
Okay,
like
that's fine.
So at number 10, I have Pet Sematary.
At the edge of the woods, behind the Creed's new house, is the old animal graveyard, the place where devoted pets are laid to rest.
Daddy, is church all right?
What is this place? I brought you here to bury Alan's cat.
So, I mean, like Pet Sematary to me, like that's like sort of, and of course I'm referring to the one from like the 90s.
89, is it? I think it might have made 89.
Yeah, like it straddles that line, you know?
We probably all saw it in 1990, 1991, but I think it was technically, you know how that shit works.
Technically 89, yeah. And plus, like 80s influence in movies like really lasted until like about 95 anyway. So a lot of stuff kind
until Scream came out, and then they just, after Scream, they all fucking sucked for a while. Not that Scream sucks, but the ones after sucked.
It's weird after that. Late 90s horror is a tricky place. But yeah, Pet Sematary, it's kind of like one of everybody's like first horror films if they're kind of like around like our age, like I feel like.
Yeah.
It's not the best Stephen King adaptation like in the world, but you have that absolutely like terrifying scene with like Zelda, the sister, that is disgusting and gross and still like
it haunted me. That was my childhood boogeyman, was Zelda from Pet Sematary.
She kind of comes out of nowhere, right? And even now, like I'll sometimes forget about Zelda and I'll like put it on before bed and then I'm like, holy shit, that's right, this is actually like scary for like 5 minutes, you know. But yeah, just the idea of like little Gage, you know, getting hit and then of course miraculously like being, you know, fully repaired by the time he's walking around. It's like
I don't know. He had no guts. He would have been in pieces.
Just like a little bruise like on his forehead or whatever.
Even the hitchhiker from Texas Chainsaw looked worse than that, I'm sure.
Totally. It's just like, here's my slightly bruised child that got ran over by a semi.
They worked overtime in the morgue, I guarantee it. They're like, we got to make this kid look great. We never know how these bodies, he might come back to life. We got to have him look primo.
So, but it is like a horrifying idea, and to this day I think it's like a really cool movie to show like an 8-year-old who wants to see horror for the first time and is kind of like just getting the concepts of death and how that isn't always like the most fair thing, you know, the people who die, and there's like a good like little like lesson in there, but of course the book is like 1,000 times better.
There's a lot of interesting stuff about, you know, loss and getting over it. And the one thing that always scares the shit out of me is when somebody in the movie tells a story that happened and they do a flashback. And when Fred Gwynn goes over the story about his the kid who died in the war, was it the war, and the parents bring him back, and he's like digging by the fucking window, and they turn, that whole scene is so well done. That's a great movie, honestly. That's it starts off like a soap opera TV movie. You're like, every time I put it in, I'm like, what is this crap? Why is it all like cheery? And then like when they what's the guy's name who gets hit by the car with the brains hanging out?
Pascal.
Pascal. When he shows up, you're like, oh no, we're in something else right now.
Yeah.
It's a classic. What can you say?
Oh yeah, super good. And of course, like Mary Lambert, could definitely stand to watch like 100 more things like by her for sure.
Yeah, I wish he would have made more. Like we did this like top 50 horror directors, and I'm going down here, and my rule was if they have to direct more than 2 horror movies I love, unless I made a couple exceptions like Fred Decker and Dan O'Bannon, because the 2 they directed are like the best movies ever made. So I was like, fuck it. But I could not. Mary Lambert only directed 3 horror films. Like she directed like 4, but only 2 of them are cool. The Pet Cemetery movies I like, and then I was like, I can't put her on the list.
I know it sucks. I just feel like she never like really got like her day, like she was like way better than I think the stuff that she was given,
Yeah.
and yeah, I would have liked to have seen like more complex things from me, but sometimes you just wind up being like a director for hire, and like your body of work is not what you're capable of.
Oh, you see that so much now. Like, you'll see a director who worked in the 80s or 90s, and some of the movies are crap, like everybody, but they made a couple gems. You're like, oh, that's great stuff. What are they doing now? You look it up, they're making Lifetime TV movies, and they make 100 a year.
They're just busting it out, like, I'm like, hey, good for you. All right, coming in at number 9 is another Stephen King adaptation, which we did. It. Yeah.
Oh, you want it, don't you, Georgie? Oh, of course you do. And there's cotton candy and rides and all sorts of surprises down here. And balloons, too. All colors.
Do they float?
Oh, yes. They float, Georgie. They float. And when you're down here with me, you float too!
Because Georgie is pretty dang scary throughout there. Just the concept of Georgie, him like just coming back like to his brother. This is one of the times too where both the 90s miniseries, I mean, of course that has like a place in my heart, and Tim Curry's amazing as Pennywise, but I actually liked the new one too.
Oh, it's great. I thought it was pretty great too.
They did a really good job with it. So, yeah, it is just, again, it's another one of those just childhood nostalgia gone sideways. And you have to like confront a lot of things like about yourself and a lot of just what I would call like everyday fears, especially like in the book, I mean, it really goes into some pretty deep like spaces. But, yeah, it's this whole like loss of innocence, which Stephen King does really well. And, under the right direction, like the movies like come off like that way too. And I think that that's what it is ultimately about, is just these kids are just trying to live like normal lives, and then this like happenstance like keeps like fucking that up for them.
And King always has those weird aspects in his movies that, like, when you go to explain it, like, anybody who's not understanding, or it's weird, like, supernatural element, like, how come the people at Derry don't remember? How come they don't? It's like, there's something wrong. Like, and, like, the same thing with Pet Cemetery, you're like, well, how come fucking Fred Gwynn keeps telling people to go to the Pet Cemetery and bury it? It's like, because something is calling him to do it. Like, I don't know how to explain this evil, but there is an evil there, and it's just you buy it or you don't buy it. And then Stephen King believes in evil, so...
Yeah, and you get that, and he just has like such a like gentle yet very realistic way of like portraying evil in his stories. It's weird because it's like he doesn't hold back any punches, but I also definitely don't feel like he's like beating you over the head with those concepts.
Well, he has a sweet nature to him deep down inside. Like he wants good will usually win over evil, even if you got to go through hell to get there. Like Ben, what the fuck is his name? Hi-Ho Silver in a way. Georgie's brother.
Yeah.
He's truly haunted with the brother. Yep. You feel it too. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're young and something traumatic happens like that, it's the younger. Sometimes you just really have a hard time getting over anything that's traumatic when you're younger.
And he just really wears that like as an adult, And then you have Georgie who didn't grow up and is kind of like pissed about it almost. You get that like angsty spirit thing like coming through like with Georgie, which I always thought was very interesting because obviously the people who die are just forever that age, right? The concept of that, and I think that's really cool, and that also comes off like very well like, in that story.
Always be in your memory that way too,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're just like frozen in time in this weird little way. All right, number 8. Oh, did you have it on your
Oh,
list?
I'll tell you at the end which ones I
Oh,
have.
okay, okay,
That
I
way
got
we'll see.
you. At number 8, I have Don't Look Now.
Classic.
Classic. So this isn't necessarily one where we have the child per se, and this is totally like a spoiler alert.
Well, they should have seen Don't Look Now by now.
I would hope so. I think everybody should see that. But holy shit. Like, I mean, and it kind of all is like leading up to that moment, right? With like the little red coat critter, and then when he like
Premonitions.
turns around and that like face, because you don't know what you're expecting, but it's not like this old face. And it's just like, it's like fucking terrifying.
Yeah, that scene that fucks you up. Like it's so weird because like somebody always explained that movie like it's a premonition and it's trying to warn him the entire time, but he doesn't go through with it. And you think like that's funny that how much correlation it has with The Shining, right? Because some people think Jack Torrance has The Shining too, and he just doesn't know how to deal with it. So that's why he goes crazy and he's kind of off as rocker in the beginning. Like, I wonder if Don't Look Now inspired King at all for The Shining.
Oh, I never like really thought about that,
Me either.
but it is something that would predate it when he wrote it. So
I'm just thinking the premonitions and stuff like that.
yeah, absolutely. And just like the father's grief, which is, about, that's what Don't Look Now is, it's the horror of the father in his grieving process. But yeah, the little red coat and flipping around and seeing something like so old. I mean, it's almost worse than seeing the child like mangled or drowned looking to me, because it's just so shocking and like visceral,
Yeah.
So that was that for 8. Number 7, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Please, God.
This is God.
Yeah, that's a classic too. See, like I didn't know if you meant dead kids or dead kids killing, so I was like, I did 50-50 on my list.
50-50. Yeah, there's a little bit of something for everybody on the list. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, particularly the twins who are murdered by Freddy, who like show up and in their weird little dresses and their Trump clothes.
They're in the first one, right? The girls skipping rope, and they appear in. I know they're in part 4 too, because we have the "Running from the Nightmare" song in the opening and stuff.
Yeah, but mainly just like that haunting like image of them, like kind of like coming around like that, and that always stuck with me. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street's like my favorite in the serial horror films, like to begin with.
Yeah, the big franchises.
Yeah, the big franchise is definitely like a Freddy person. Just because I think that that's like the most consistently entertaining. Like even a bad Freddy movie is still like watchable.
Well, they're imaginative. Even the ones I don't like they're still kind of fun to watch. Like I don't like 5 and 6, but the rest of them I like. And every series has some ones you're not gonna like. It's just gonna happen. But they're just imaginative. Even if and it's hard to, like I said, like when people argue, it's like these don't make any sense. Like try to explain the science of Freddy Krueger, please. Like what are you gonna do? Yeah, but somebody that targets your kids and kills them is just the scariest fucking thing on earth, and especially in your dreams. It's the best concept for a horror movie probably ever, right?
Because if you dream about them, you're fucked, right?
You're fucked, and you gotta sleep. And if you don't sleep, you get crazy, and then no one believes you anyway, so you're fucked.
I always thought that was like the most clever marketing gimmick, like ever. Because like, normally if you have like a bad dream, you're like, oh, it was only a dream. But this time it's like, they got you though.
No, but you're still fucking dead.
Yeah, dead now.
The only, you know what? The only thing that I remember, like precursor to the Nightmare on Elm Street, where they target kids. I'm sure there's a lot of it, but well, he targets kids, but that's different. That's just a serial killer. But the Hammer movies would always have like Dracula. One of the Draculas, I think it's Taste the Blood. He targets the characters' kids, and in Vampire Circus when they come back.
Oh yeah.
Pick off all the kids first, and that. I was like, this reminds me a little bit like that's a good horror trope that's scary as shit.
Oh yeah, because it's like you're coming for the children. So in a lot of ways, they're coming for like your immortality, right? Because the whole point of having kids is like you like live on, at the baseline of it, right? And so when like they're eradicating you, but in this like really like fucked up like way, like when the killer specifically is targeting that.
Yeah, they're erasing you from future timelines.
Yeah, that's cool. I dig it. Next up, I have one of the newer ones that's like on the list, which is Hereditary.
It's okay, Charlie. We're almost to the hospital, okay?
And that one, I did not read anything purposely like about it, like before like going into it. So I like really was surprised. I actually study the Solomon Keys and like all those ancient demon things. So I was like, oh, at last there's like a movie that's like not watering this down and is actually like presenting it in a really cool way. So I was pleasantly surprised at that, but I had no idea that she was going to get her head like lopped off.
No, that was fucking mind bending right there.
And you're so wrapped up in that moment, right? And they've already played it up. She's got that horrible like allergy, and you're expecting her to be like the main character throughout the film, and definitely to not go out in such a violent like way like that. Like, I mean, I can't think of another movie that's done it exactly like that, like where it's like a telephone pole taking off.
No, not really. I mean, I've seen people get hit by fire hydrants in King of New York was a great one, and Romeo and Juliet is a great one where they hang out the car. Anytime that happens, it's really scary because even as a kid, you always imagine like, what if I'm keeping your arm out the window gets knocked off by a tree or something? You hear those stories like so and so got drunk and they stuck their head out the window and lopped their head off, but you never see it. And that movie's genius too because you know it happened. And then they're like, oh, they're just going to basically say it. And then, no, we're going to cut back to it in the middle of the morning and the after effect. And they show the ants and shit. And just the idea of like insects, something eating somebody that was alive hours ago is disturbing. And the element that she had some sort of like kind of mental problems makes you feel even worse because you weren't there to protect that person, which makes you feel even more guilty. And it's just like, that movie's powerful. His movies always get to me.
Oh, me too. I mean, he's fantastic. And we're so lucky to be in that timeline where he's like producing new work and getting the proper budgets to really have like that vision come across, like appropriately. Because it wouldn't be as impactful if like Hereditary was made for like $10,000.
No. I mean, you couldn't even do the fucking little miniatures for $10,000 in that movie.
and all these like things. And just how just impactful it shows like the grief process, like very realistically, like him just going into his bedroom and just like laying down.
Oh yeah.
Like because he can't even like process that, like, he just like essentially like led to his sister's like death, and just the way that the mom like absolutely like comes unhinged. I mean, and this is of course before you're even getting to like the but just that very true like real life like horror that's able to bring out.
And also, you mentioned that they had the demon element, and it's nice to see a demon that's not Lucifer. I'm so sick of seeing Lucifer. I don't want to see any straight up Christian villains or anything. I'm so sick of it. But if you start throwing in weird or different gods that I didn't know existed or deities, I love the Lovecraft shit, but but you start throwing in weirder ones, like even like if you ever watch like a lot of the foreign movies will do it, and that's where you get a glimpse at their like kind of beliefs and stuff like Filmbad, where you see like you're like, what the fuck is this story? Like or any of the Indonesian monsters and myths and shit. They're just fucking crazy, and they you catch it because you're learning and being terrified because it's so unknown. But when it's Lucifer, you're like, yeah, get the priest, get the holy water. I ain't fucking to be over in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm done with you, you know? And like, and it was really cool because like, you know, in fact, it's like such a creepy, fascinating study. Like, anyway, I mean, this is the stuff that like Aleister Crowley and Eliphas Levi like dedicated like their lives to. So it's very like rare to see that in a film and to also have it be accurate in what they're saying as far as like the mythos like goes, you know. And I like that they didn't just like stop and explain everything to you, you know. They're just like, this is happening, so you either like know about it or you don't, and you'll figure it out, you know.
I'm catching the pattern on all your movies. They don't really explain any of them that well. Like you kind of have to put it together, and a lot of people hate that, but I always liked it where you're like, so how did this to this? In Hereditary, you pick it up on like the second time. You get everything. At first, you're like, I don't understand why they would take the time to go beat around the bush to this demon to jump into her to switch the body and all that shit. But then you're like, oh yeah, then they explain it. You're like, okay.
Yeah, and I am a fan of stuff like horror movies, just letting the movie be, you know, because your own imagination is terrifying like enough.
Oh yeah.
And you know, when you have to stop and like have it like explain to you like you're 5, that kind of like loses steam for me, you know. I'd rather it just like, exist and then just start rolling with it.
Yeah, like people always are like, what happened at the end of the thing? It's like, you're not supposed to know if he's the thing or not, either of them. That's the point of the fucking ending. That's why we can argue either way, but it doesn't fucking matter because there's not an end. You don't know. There's no way to know.
Yeah, you don't know, and it says like something about you, and it's like what you're bringing to the experience, right? And any important piece of art, I think, like actually lets a person, you know, see themselves in it instead of just being so like rigid, like this is what you must like think, you know. I mean, where's the fun in that? Coming up next for Dead Kid movies, we actually already touched on this one, but The Shining.
My girls, they didn't care for the Overlook at first. One of them actually stole a pack of matches and tried to burn it down. But I corrected them, sir. And when my wife tried to prevent me from doing my duty, I corrected her.
Yeah, classic. Again, like with like the twins, you know, coming in, and just their whole. What I like about it is like you would think that in that type of situation, you know, like, you know, just suspending disbelief and saying that that would be a real situation, that like the children would be trying to like warn the other child, but they're not. They're like very sinister. Like they want Danny to be like absorbed into, you know, like the place like with them. And I always thought that that was like very unsettling about it, you know, like they know what they're doing and they're almost like trying to like lure him in, and they're not like, get out, take your mom and be free. Well, you know,
they got a bike. He's got a bike. They want that bike. Come play with us, Danny. We're tired. We don't like each other anymore. We've been here for how many years? 20 years?
Yeah, exactly. And I just always thought that was fun, and they're just so delightfully like unsettling, like those girls.
Also the complete opposite of House by the Cemetery, because the little girl warns him, don't come here, but they still end up fucking there because it's a ghost story and that's what happens to you. They tell you you're going to die, but you still end up there, and by the time you're there, you're fucked because nobody believes you. But yeah, it's like, and House by the Cemetery is kind of a ripoff of The Shining. You don't really realize it until you've seen, you know what I mean? But I love that movie. But yeah, it's just like, you're right. I never really paid attention to that. Instead of warning them, like a lot of ghosts, that every ghost in the fucking Shining is evil.
Yeah. Yeah. Super, super evil. Like just absolutely like wants that family to be like hacked up and like just stay there with them.
Do you think that somebody brought this up when we covered it? Because I was arguing with Jeremy about it, and he said that he was like, is Scatman Crothers going to be a ghost in that hotel? I was like, no. He's like, well, I was like, I don't know why I said no, but I feel like he's not. Do you? I feel like he's not.
I think he would be in there. No, I'd like to think that he's not part of that whole thing, you know, like he kind of like just like represents the good. And of course, like in the book, he gets out.
He lives, yeah, but the hotel blows up.
Yeah. But yeah, I would like to think even like within the universe of like, you know, the Kubrick film that like he wouldn't be, I don't know. And I don't understand quite pinpoint like why I would think that he wouldn't be like in there.
You have to give yourself up to the hotel, possibly.
I think so. Like he really wasn't like a part of it. Like he was aware of what was going on in the hotel, but he definitely like didn't surrender to it, you know?
For sure.
And he actually did try to warn the Torrances.
Yeah, a bunch of times.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to like sit here in my cool little bachelor pad until you call me.
Hey, have some ice cream, kid. Don't fucking die. I'm out of here.
There's the Shining, of course, classic. Next up, coming in at number 4, The Ring. Where that dead kid definitely gets vindictive and murderous.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, the first one, I'm not a purist. I saw the American one before I saw Ringo, I'll admit it. And I'll also admit that the very first time I watched it and she crawls out of like the fucking TV, like I lost my shit. There's something about it. And in subsequent viewings, it's not as scary to me, but I think I just was not expecting that. And it's just done in just this really unnerving way. And yeah, it's one of the movies that the first time I saw it, like, could not like sleep that night.
They're both good, the original and the remake, and it's a rare time when they both like complement each other. Where it's like, well, I have a question on the original, and then the remake's like, well, we got that filled. And then you're like, I have a question on the remake, and then the original, you're like, I got it filled. If you put them both together, it like answers all the questions I would have possibly had about them.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, they don't work against each other. And I never thought about it like in that way. But yeah, you're totally right. Like,
yeah. And it's rare too. Like they're both so different, but they both are like different enough, but the same enough that I don't think they're offensive to one another. I think I'm partial to the original only because I saw it first, and I think that the detective story in the first half is a little bit better than the detective story in the remake. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's a great bit of cinema. And if anything, it's like really cool that the American one exists because it allowed so many people to seek out the original and have it be like a little bit more like available, you know, on something other than just like a bootleg, which I think it was before the American one.
And Naomi Watts is one of those actresses that's fucking amazing. Like, when I saw her,
what's she bad in?
Yeah, I mean, she's always good. I mean, she's fucking good in that fucking Dick Moss movie with the killer elevator. I don't.
Yeah. Oh, she is. She's good in the terrible King Kong movie. You know,
I don't hate the King Kong movie. I understand why people don't like it, but I don't hate it just because I'm a big Peter Jackson fan. No, I don't. I do hate Hobbit 3 though. That's a piece of shit. But I don't hate the King Kong movie. No, but also about the Ring is that like she really is a killer kid because they're like, hey, we helped you, we figured out your mystery and like all that shit. Like your soul is not going to be in torment anymore. And she's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just killing people because I'm evil. Like, I don't need your. It's not like the Changeling where you help the kid and then he's like, okay, everything's good, you help me, or Devil's Backbone. But it's literally like fucking evil ass kid.
Yeah, she's just born evil.
Exactly. It's like yeah.
It's great. And actually, great segue because at number 3 I have The Changeling.
Okay.
That house is not fit to live in. No one's been able to live in it. It doesn't want people.
She said she'd seen a boy. He was trying to come up through the floor, and he kept staring at her.
What is it in that house, Claire?
What is it doing? Why is it trying to reach me?
Will you communicate with us? Will you speak to us?
Yeah. Which, oh my God. I mean, who knew you could be so terrified by like just like a rubber ball bouncing down the staircase? You know, but it does that. Like, and it's a great, you know, for the first like chunk of the movie, you don't really know if it's actually like a ghost or if it's just like in this dude's head, which I really appreciate, like that like element of it, you know, because again, we're going back to like the grieving father, you know, and is he just kind of seeing these things because he wants to be seeing them, and then it turns out it is actually like a ghost, you know, with who has a little mission for him.
Yeah, and it turns out it's a really nasty, dark story that shits on rich people, which I'm all for.
Oh, yeah. You have the great like George C. Scott.
No, he's one of the best. Like, even when he's... Yeah, I mean, like, he's such a good actor. Like, when he plays characters that you normally couldn't relate to, he somehow... He, like, in Hardcore, like, he's such a, like you like him. Like, you just like him, always. I always enjoyed him from anything. Even, like, in Firestarter, he's great. But this one's one of his better performances, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And
this and Exorcist 3 are, like,
yeah.
my
I have
favorite
nothing against the fish. That fucking speech is so good. Yeah, he's a great actor. He's one of the best.
Yeah. Coming in at number 2, I have Insidious.
It's not the house that's haunted. It's your son.
You know, I never seen it.
Oh, you've not seen Insidious?
I know, right?
So yeah, no, you should totally like check this one out. Like, I know that James Wan's like hit and miss for like a lot of people, but for me, this movie, especially the first one, just it hit those like right notes where I think it's like actually genuinely like really, really unsettling. There's just like a lot of like things like in there that just like really, they're kind of like deep dives. At the same time, it's something that like similar to Pet Sematary, where it's like somebody's first horror film, you know, like maybe you're like 11 and you're watching it like at a sleepover and you really want to scare the shit out of your friends, you know, but they have some like moments in it that are like truly terrifying, like in the movie. And it's definitely one that like once you think it's like ramping up, it's just kind of amping up, which I always appreciate too, because then you don't know which way like it's gonna go. So you should absolutely check that out, because there's a very, very scary dead kid in that.
Well, there's like, I've seen a handful of, I've seen the first 2 Conjurings. I've seen, of course, Death Sentence, which I love.
Oh yeah.
Dead Silence is fun. Saw is alright, and I really like Malignant. I loved. So Insidious is probably one of the only ones I don't think I have seen.
Oh yeah, you should totally check it out. Like, let me know what you think, because if you liked like those, I think that you would get something out of it for sure.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the first Conjuring. It's just not my thing. But the second one I enjoyed, probably because it had because it had Patrick Wilson singing Elvis, and I was just like, I don't know why I like this now, but I do.
How it works for me. Yeah, no, I agree with you. The second one's well, and then you have the introduction of like Bonnie Aarons, like that nun in the second one, which is like a really scary character.
Well, it's more focused on, you know, the couple, and I don't know. I think that kind of just drives the movie for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And they portray Ed and Lorraine Warren in a very like flattering like light, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that guy was far from Patrick Wilson.
Oh, yeah. Lorraine is saying that dude, like Ed, was a shyster. I got a lot of opinions about him. My number 1 for dead kids was The Orphanage.
4, 3, 2, 1. You can open your eyes.
Also a great movie.
Oh, yeah. That little Thomas. The little sock over his head or whatever.
I only saw it the one time. I remember it being real depressing and real gloomy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's not an uplifting film. And that kid with his like little creepy like little mask like running around the house and stuff. I mean, he was scary as shit.
I need a rewatch on that one. Like I said, I think I saw it right roughly when it, like probably like a couple years after it came out. And I know that Del Toro produced it and it's got a lot of love. And I remember a mean old lady that I felt really bad for. And then there was a reveal in it. And I was like,
It's beautiful. I mean, Del Toro like puts like that, even when he's producing, like that extra care, and sentiment into his movies, which can make them like a lot more impactful. I mean, they're dark fairy tales, for like adults and stuff. And yeah, The Orphanage, I still find it to be very haunting and like very scary, even like with repeat like viewings. Those like little dudes like really creep me out.
Well, Devil's Backbone could have, I started naming movies that I didn't even put on this list. I was like, fuck, I could have had Devil's Backbone. I could have had Pan's Labyrinth, because there's nothing more fucked up when he shoots that kid in the face.
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a good list. That was a good subject too. A lot of great movies. So half of my list I put kind of like movies where kids die. That kind of affected me. And the other one I kind of put movies where kids kill, and then they get killed or they're already dead and they're killing. So number 10, I did have Pet Sematary.
Yay!
It was the last one I wrote, and I was like, fuck, I got a Pet Cemetery. And I was writing It's Alive, and I scratched it off real quick and wrote Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, Pet Cemetery.
Number 9 is a movie that's always stuck in my head, so I wrote Bloodletting, because they shoot a baby with a shotgun.
I never killed a baby before.
Seriously?
Yeah. First one.
Yes.
Never killed a baby before. Wow. First one. Yeah, that just stuck in my head. Number 8, I wrote Reflecting Skin. Have you seen that movie?
Oh yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
They find the weird baby in the barn. Mm-hmm. The dead baby that somebody left, and I was just like, that is such a fucked up part, and it just stuck with me.
You kind of have to say, oh, there you go. You're back.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. The baby in Reflecting Skin just stuck with me when they find the baby in the barn. It's really disturbing.
Oh yeah. That's a powerful flick. I need to go back and revisit that one.
Number 7, I put Antichrist, which opens up with the death of their kid, and it's a really fucking, basically just the more depressing like opening of like, it's kind of the same opening of Don't Look Now, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Lars von Trier.
Yeah. That's the only Lars von Trier movie I actually like.
I've seen House That Jack Built, Antichrist, and the 2 Nymphomaniac movies. I can't remember if I've seen. Oh, I watched The Kingdom.
I haven't seen that one yet.
That's his miniseries. I've seen the first one. It's 4 hours long, 4.5 hours long. There's like 3 parts to it. I've enjoyed everything I've seen by him, but I like House That Jack Built, I think, a little bit better just because it's a comedy and I laugh at sick things like that. And Matt Dillon just cracks me up for some reason.
It was like such a weird role for him to take on, and it was kind of cool to see him. Oh yeah,
like especially after seeing him, There's Something About Mary, when he's just such a big Pat Healy, such a fucking creep. What's his name in that, Pat?
I think it's Pat. It's been a minute since I've seen that movie.
Pat Healy's an actor, so it can't be, unless his name is Pat Healy, is the same as the actors, but I don't know. Number 6, I put Nightmares in a Damaged Brain, because there's this scene where this little girl wanders in like this building, and all her friends leave her, and she doesn't know nobody knows there's a killer in there, and he kills her. And then we like cut to the police like yelling at one of the kids like, where'd you leave her in here? What? And they like bring her out, and like she's on like a stretcher and stuff. It's just really kind of a fucked up scene for kind of a cheap exploitation movie.
Yeah, I had completely like forgotten about that movie. Damn, you got a good list going.
It's all off the top of my head. So number 5 is 1988's The Blob. It's the first time I ever saw an on-screen kill of a kid in the sewer. And I always thought that was really, because he jumps up and the blob pulls him back in, and I expected him to get out of the blob for some reason when I was like 6. I was like, he's going to get out of the blob. And then he was stuck back in. I was like, no, he's fucking dead. And I was like, that means I'm going to die. And I got scared. Number 4, I have Don't Look Now.
Nice.
Yeah, so I at least got 2 so far. That's not bad. Number 3, I put Beware of Children at Play, which I don't think I've ever seen, but I know there's millions of dead kids.
It's that
Yeah.
much.
I know it's a trauma movie, and anytime you bought a trauma disc in the like late '90s, early 2000s, like every like game you'd play on there would just show a clip from Children Beware Children at Play of a kid getting shot.
Yeah.
Real tasteful
Hey, we
stuff.
got dead kids here.
Yeah, real tasteful stuff from Trauma. Number 2 is another Trauma distributed movie called The Children.
It's time you believed in a new kind of horror. The horror of the children. Something you wouldn't dare to imagine has happened to the children. Something beyond your worst fears.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Marcus is a big fan of that movie, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
I think, yeah, the kids at the they go through like an atomic cloud or some shit on a school bus, and then they're all zombie kids, and they go home to hug their parents, and when they hug them, they disintegrate their parents. It's a really crazy movie. And number 1 is a real wild fucking movie called The Child from 1977.
Oh, shit. That came close to actually being on my list. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
That is a fucking weird movie about like I don't know. At first you start watching it and you're like, what is this? Like really cheapy like movie, and then like it starts getting creepy and you find out like there's a little girl who's like evil and she's like controlling these zombies that fucking they're killing people. It's fucking weird.
That one's great. I love that that was your top one.
It was the first one that came to my head about dead kids. So Don't Look Now and Pet Cemetery is what I got.
Pet Cemetery. Both amazing lists, though. Well,
yeah, your list was really good. I didn't know. Like, I could go one way or the other, and there's like... But yours were like the catalyst for the movie as Dead Kids, you know? Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the motive, the character's arc, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, Don't Look Now is the quintessential Dead Kid movie, right?
Absolutely.
So I have 2 to possible choose from, and I really want to go with this one because it fits with what you did. It's Evil Babies from movies, but some of them are really fucking obscure, and I don't even know if like anybody's seen some of these. Or we could go with Little Creatures, which is easy but generic, and I think that Evil Babies is much funnier.
Let's do Evil Babies. I don't know how good I'll do with it, but let's do Evil Babies.
Essentially, it's like a March Madness bracket, like a tournament bracket. So the first 2 I draw out, they have to fight to the death, and then the winner moves on. The next 2 fight, the winner moves on until we have the final 2, and we figure out who the king of the Evil Babies is.
I'm into it.
Okay.
Let's go.
So the first up, let me draw 2 names out of here. Ugh. I want to make sure I'm pulling out the right ones. Okay. Ooh. Dropping it on the ground. I thought I had a Little Creatures one for a second. So, okay. This is stupid. We have the weird god from Baby Blood. Have you seen it? The one that's inside her stomach that apparently is some Lovecraftian god that, according to him, versus the weird mutant baby from Unborn 2.
Oh, Unborn 2.
You remember that baby?
Yeah.
He's pretty hulky.
I like him. I want to go with Unborn 2.
Yeah, that's a silly movie. I'm surprised anybody's seen that movie. How's he take out the god? He must get him in the womb.
He gets him, like, you know, because you're still vulnerable, like, in the womb.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know. That one's up running around.
So, right, here we go here. Next up is the It's Alive baby.
All right.
Gotta have him. And he's gonna go up against the Dead Alive baby.
Oh, shit. Oh. I think Dead Alive baby.
He's pretty hard to kill, isn't he?
Yeah. He seemed pretty indestructible.
How does he get killed? I don't remember.
I remember him being like tough little son of a bitch.
What was that? You cut out for a second. You cut out for a second?
I remember him being a little tough son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah. So, next up on Evil Babies is apparently a white piece of paper that I forgot to pull out. Okay, this is a weird one. We have, have you ever seen The Seventh Curse?
No, I haven't seen that one.
I just watched it for the first time. It's a 86 movie. It's got Chow Yun-fat. And there's this weird floating fetus god thing that fights fucking this other demon thing. It's a fucking weird ass movie. This thing's pretty powerful. I don't know what it is though. And it's gonna fight the baby from The Baby, which is just a guy who thinks he's a baby.
And the case history doesn't show any other name. What is his real name? Just Baby.
To Baby, life was not a giant playpen. It was a living hell. He wasn't allowed to walk, he wasn't allowed to talk, but he was capable of it. Baby is a full-grown man trapped by 3 women with no way out.
Floating fetus would totally knock the shit out of that dude.
The baby guy was just a joke anyway, so I was like, gotta have the baby in there.
I mean, he was convinced he was a baby.
That's a weird ass movie.
That movie goes some places.
It's also rated PG.
Let a child watch that,
No shit. Like one of the babysitters has the doesn't she use the baby to suck her nipple? That's not PG.
Yeah. No, not at all.
They submitted it to the board. The guy watched 5 minutes. I'm not watching this fucking movie. PG.
PG stamp.
Okay, so this one is The Baby from Necrophiles.
Right, Steven, right!
Which is also apparently just a floating mannequin. And they're going to go against Oopsie Daisy from Demonic Toys.
Hi, you fat fuck. I'm Baby Oopsie Daisy. You lard ass. Will you be my special friend?
What the hell?
I can walk, I can talk, I can even shit my pants.
Huh?
Can you shit your pants?
Oh, Oopsie Daisy.
Got a gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got a gun and the attitude.
Yeah. He'll kill him with one-liners. So next is we go Unborn 2 versus Dead Alive Baby.
Dead Alive Baby.
And then Seventh Curse versus Demonic Toys.
Demonic Toys.
And then the final, here we go, the Dead Alive Baby versus Oopsie Daisy from Demonic Toys.
Damn. I'm going to go with Oopsie.
Oopsie?
I think Oopsie could do the job.
Well, I mean, you got to remember, she can walk, she can talk, she can even shit her pants. That was probably the dumbest tournament I've ever come up with.
Yes, Oopsie for the win.
That's crazy, though, that you had dead kids, and so I had evil babies with dead kids is perfect.
We were in sync.
In sync. So what do you got coming up?
So up next is I'm finishing up ChumBucket, which we're in the insert scenes for the gore. So the really nice punch-in Marcus Cook gore extraordinaire. We're creating all of that good stuff, which we wanted to spend our time with because there's a lot of expectations.
Oh yeah.
But we've shot out all the actors and everything. So now it's the real fun part, And I am putting the finishing touches on this anthology called Fucked, which is all female extreme cinema. And it was kind of a pet project of mine because when we were doing Beyond Horror, it kind of kept coming up off the scenes that women weren't into the genre, which was stupid. But I don't think that there would have been a lot of opportunities extended to women to highlight their work in that genre. So I had the idea to do an anthology and then just invite people. Hey, you want to get fucked up? You want to get weird? What is your interpretation of extreme cinema? And that's how Fucked came up. So it's going to be released by Vile Video. It already premiered at Nightmares Film Festival in its very rough early form.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for how it's turning out.
Nice. So who's involved with that? You have a short in there, right?
Yeah, I have a short. It's an older short of mine that originally appeared on the Faces of Snuff anthology. It's a short called 18. That one that Shane Ryan like put out. They have like a bunch of different people like on it, but this one I've since kind of separated it out from that, and it just kind of belonged on there. And we have like Brooklyn Ewing, who did She Was So Pretty, got something like brand new for it. Ashley Crewell has her very first short ever on there, and she's been around for a while, like as like an actress and also an effects artist. So it was really cool to see her first like come up. We have Dixie Gears, who did Piggy as a director, and this is her new one called Human Toilet. She's also kind of known for being like a cool like plus size scream queen. She was in the Crazy Fat Ethel like remake.
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't see that one. I don't know if I've even seen the original, but there's like 2 of those movies, right?
Yeah, and they're super fun. And Dixie's like an amazing actress. She's doing like a lot of like cool stuff like in there. Megan Beck, like her first like short film like is on there, and of course she's been like involved in the horror scene in like a bunch of different ways. So,
yeah, I know Megan. She's cool.
Yeah, a lot of like first time like filmmakers on there, or like relatively like new people to it, which is also always awesome to just highlight. Like,
yeah, for sure.
You know? Yeah, so I'm excited, and I mean Jonathan Doe does like amazing like releases. He puts like a lot of care into like the Vile video releases, so it's cool to go with him for that.
Oh yeah, and Symbolicus, you guys had a short on there, and
yeah.
I watched that one the other night. But Volume 2, did you do a short on that one as well?
No, nothing on Volume 2, just Volume 1. I have the Heart Symbol, which was a short like home movies that I did.
Yeah, it was almost like the kind of like the home movies of someone who was stalking someone is what I got from it, and like they just like edited their own shit.
Yeah, and I was really into like the like found footage and just like really amateur clunky editing and like soundscapes that come from that, you know. Because people kind of like inadvertently like will create like this very interesting like audio experience like with amateur editing, and it's also what I do for my short called 18, which is on the Fucked anthology too, where it like purposely edited together like on like a shitty system, you know, like a little amateur home movie thing, and I just think that adds like a more like authentic layer to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it gives a grungy thing to it for sure.
Yeah, which I totally dig. And I'm getting ready to do effects on the next erotic gore nonsense movie. That'll be the 3rd in the series, and I've done stuff for each one so far, but this will be the time where I'm like actually like head of the effects.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, working with Felicia Fisher again, which is always like amazing, and this other performer named Little Puck, who's really cool. So
I've been meaning to pick those up, but like I'm not into the puke stuff, so I was real leery about Barf Bunny, and like I listened to interviews with Jonathan Doe and Felicia, and they seem really like intelligent and interested in the genre, and like Jonathan Doe seems like he really knows. Like I know he's a kind of an expert on extreme and cinema styles. Like I should really give these a purchase. And I'll eventually buy them, like, but it's just like going back and forth with that. It's like I don't want to buy them and then not like them, and then watch them and then just be like I don't like this, and then just seem like an asshole, you know?
Yeah, Barf Bunny. I mean, it is what it says it is, you know. There's a good bit of gore like at the end of it. I will say that, and it's not terribly long. To me, it kind of like hits different than like let's say like a Lucifer Valentine film because of. It's like very brightly lit. Like it's almost like watching like Pee Wee Herman. Like as weird as that sounds.
It didn't seem as grungy. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know how to say this, but just from the cover art and the way they were like selling it and talking about it, it seemed like the wholesome puke movie instead of the not wholesome puke movie. Like Lucifer Valentine, you're like, I can't do those movies anymore. I can't do that. It's not for me anymore.
Yeah, no, it is. There's something like weird and like almost like cartoonish about it that kind of like gives enough of a degree of separation that even if you're squeamish with that stuff, like I think that you can still kind of get something out of it. And the gore payoff at the end is like ridiculous and over the top and totally like worth at least watching that like last like 10 minutes. And The Degenerates is just like really fucking disturbing. Like I think it's like an actual it comes close to hitting on like the August Underground level of disturbing, like to me. It's like a super grungy, super mean, super just realistic with it. So it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the first and the third August Underground. Mortem's too much for me. Like I said, I was like, I can't watch it again. I've seen it 2-3 times. I just can't do it. It makes me sick. It makes me feel like shit. I'm not watching it anymore. But 1 and 3, I've found like the story arc in those with the main with Fred and what he called Peter in the movies that I always kind of connected to and just watch because it's a serial killer story and
yeah,
they eventually get sloppy like in the third one and they eventually are going to get caught or die or do something crazy.
Yeah, it's a great. I mean, I'm a huge fan of like August Underground, but yeah, Mortem's definitely. I agree with you on that one. That's the one that is very hard to revisit.
Yeah, that's the one you put on like when someone won't go home.
So now we're gonna watch Mortem, kids.
I tried it with Eraserhead once. I was like, why don't this fucking person go home? I'm putting in Eraserhead. And they fucking watched it. I went to sleep. And this is just a normal person, supposedly.
I don't think anyone normal can sit through Eraserhead.
No, I don't think so either. I really appreciate you doing this. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. If you have anything else to say or buys or plugs or whatever, let them know.
Yeah, just anybody can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. That's where I'm like the most publicly active. It's under Acid Goth Forever on both of those. And I actually just started an extreme cinema community on Twitter. So you can come and join that. It's pinned to like the top of my page. So finding all kinds of fun, fucked up movies through that.
Cool. Well, thanks for doing it again and hope you have a good one. Till next time.
You too. Bye.